Hey everybody, it's Armin. Today we're going to be assembling a motor for Mr. Santiago. He just paid for a 2.5 swap of cams and such, so we're going to go and get this motor together. But before we dive into the motor, I went ahead and pulled off all the injectors off of the 2 remaining motors I have here that I need to build. And look how nasty these guys are. Grody. So we're going to take this down to our neighbor shop, Todd, and I'm going to clean all these guys out. So I just have a whole bunch of clean injectors sitting on shelf. All right, we're over here at the neighbor's shop. Already went through one set of injectors. One was completely dead, so we're pitching that one. And then as of right now, we're just started on this batch. And as you see, only a couple of them actually work. So let's see how many of these actually clear up. All right, we're starting our next set of injectors here on cleaning. We ended up having one dead one on the first batch, one dead on the second batch. So we're actually running in the second batch 2 of the dead ones again, and our last 4. And as you see off the bat, we only have what looks like 2 of them working in this batch. We'll see how it comes out at the end of the 5 minutes. Right, we're coming to the end of this test, and as you see, 4 of them are flowing, but these 2 stayed dead, so we're just gonna throw those out. Well, now that we're back from Todd's shop, all the injectors are nice and clean, outside and inside. At least these are. We had to throw out 3 of them, but hey, that's why I have a whole bunch of these. So for the next several motor builds, I have injectors that are clean and ready to go. So now we're gonna start by getting this motor up on a stand, tearing it down, and then we'll get to installing all the goodies. This build is getting Esslinger Stage 2 cams with the Mazda Speed valve springs and all of the regular standard stuff, seals, routine maintenance, etc. I'm going to try something a little different in this video. I went ahead and removed the rear main seal because I figured that would be easier than doing it while it was still in the stand, and then I said, well, I could just install a new one before I put the stand on as well. So we're going to take care of that, and then we'll put it on the stand. All right, we got the motor on the stand here. That's the most important. No, the most important part is I now have an Icy. This video brought to you by Icy. Go get one today at your local gas station. These things are a freaking lifesaver. All right, so as per usual, got all the regular swap parts. I've already actually taken the balance shaft off of this motor before. The motors I had on shelf, I went ahead and had taken them apart previously, got all the liquids out of them, pulled the balance shaft assembly, stuck them aside. So we won't need to be doing any of that today. But we'll be doing the actual delete of the balance shafts. And my wife already assembled all of these little Mazda Speed valve springs with the keepers, so I can just get them easy in and out. That's kind of it. Let's get to disassembling and reassembling. It's not really a motor build unless I make a giant mess, I guess. So there's a giant mess. Time to clean it up. remember, a couple of videos ago I had said that I had run out of spare crank pulleys because I had one that was rusty on shelf. Well, I was actually over there looking on the shelf at it, and it just had a light coat of rust on the face and in the spokes, so I took a wire brush to it, cleaned all of it up, hit it with some rust reformer, painted it black. Perfectly good. But it's still an OEM. It doesn't have the part number in the front because it was already rusted off, but on the back side it does. Still says LFG. So I'm going to use this on his motor, and we can get this motor completely completed. Got a little bit ahead of myself here. I put on the front cover before I torqued the cams, so we'll just redo it. No big deal. This is why we check our work. So all's good. We're just gonna have to clean the front cover, clean the front of this off again, and then we'll just redo that. But the cams are now torqued, obviously. I got the red marks on there. Mr. Santiago has dropped off his car. We've gotten his motor out. Usually I don't film this part, because I usually just do it right when we get the motor out, and I don't film any of that stuff. But I've got the motor here. I'm gonna just show me on screen transferring the parts over. We have this motor. This is the one I assembled. I mean, now it's been like 2 weeks, but we got his car in, and this, yeah, this is now gonna get stripped down. Let's do it. So I'm about to install this valve cover, and there's an issue I frequently have with installing these gaskets, because the stock gasket goes in from the bottom, and we have a bit of an issue with the not the aftermarket, but the original Ford ones. I don't know how they're installed from the factory, but they like to hang up on this lift and it damages the gasket. So I take one of my little rasp tools and I just gently grind around the edge just to give that bit of a smooth edge so it presses in nicely. And that's one of these guys, and it goes in with the uglier side up, like that. But like I said, many of these I've installed, it just eats up the side of it when you try to install it. So instead of doing that, we'll just clean it up with this. So we're done with this motor as of this point. I will further strip this one down because I need the oil pan, the cams, and the crank pulley, but we're done with that one. So as you saw, I got all this stuff transferred over. What's next is I'm going to clean up those intake runners, RTV them to the head, move over this intake manifold with a new gasket, and then this thing, oh, I will need to clearance this right here. I haven't clearanced this yet, and it'll be ready to go into the customer's motor. Into the customer's car. So I'm turning this thing around backwards so I can point something out. You'll notice when I installed this intake manifold, I installed all the bolts before I tightened any of them. I just went ahead and hand threaded them a little bit. If you have an NC2 or later, you may have to shave the back of the intake manifold because there's structure that gets in the way of the PCV breather. Even if you're using the Ranger PCV breather, there's not enough room. So what I've found is you grind all that stuff flat, and then even on one of the examples I just did recently, I had to grind out of the PCV side, and I ground it to where there was a hole in the cover, and then I went ahead and did some, not epoxy, but I forget what it is, like a super glue with a powder that turns into, you know, it's like steel or something. It's really hard stuff, so I used that in order to seal it up. Now, the next thing is, when you're installing this intake manifold, you're gonna have difficulty with the EGR. So the EGR is difficult to line up, so what I do is I loosen the 2/8 back here before I put it in. And before I put any of these bolts in, I make sure that the nose of this is at least in the hole and up against where it seats. A very common question I see come up is where this bracket goes. This bracket, with this tube backwards, sits here on those two studs. There's two nuts that go here and one bolt that goes here. And then there's a little, on NC1s, there's a little radio ground here that's got to be plugged in. That guy goes here. Not to be confused with the coolant sensor. This one's broken, of course. We'll replace that. Gray one's the coolant sensor that goes in the back side of the head. And then these two I leave loose until the motor's installed because they'll get in the way of the engine hoist across here. I think that about covers it. I'm going to continue on. So what I've done in the past in order to shave these front covers is I'll wait until I got this pulley on here, I'll take my straight edge, and what I've found is that you line this up here, because obviously the belt comes off of here, it goes up to the power steering pump. If you have your power steering pump, great. Get a flat ruler like this and make sure that it can touch both pulleys without touching this. This gives you the angle at which you need to cut. And the amount that you need to cut, if I remember correctly, it is 1 centimeter lower than where this bolt is, if I remember correctly. So we're gonna go in and we're just gonna shave that away. We're gonna make sure that we're cutting in this plane. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that. It's important that you also cut all the way to the surface, because the belt rides right next to it. So it's important. Otherwise, you're just going to end up edging off the side of the belt, and we don't want that. I'm going to do that here in a bit. Let's see. That's pretty much everything I'm going to do on camera. I will need to cut and swap this so that it can adapt to the appropriate fitting here. The connector for the VVT, I need to swap that guy out. But this motor is pretty much ready to go in. Yeah, that's it. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and tear this guy down. I have to do those couple of things. I also need to throw on the clutch assembly. But that's everything. Thank you for watching. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop me a line below. Remember that we sell the kits for you to do your own conversions, all the way from the basics all the way up to cams. If you do reach out to us, we can sell you more than just that kind of stuff as well. Everything else is on our website. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.